In the gripping opening scene, we meet a young girl named Lydia, who embarks on a troubling errand one morning to purchase firearms and ammunition at a local gun shop for her boyfriend, Jonah. After acquiring the weapons, Lydia joins Jonah and two other gang members as they head to the home of a man suspected of embezzling money from El Padrino. As Lydia and the others arrive, the atmosphere quickly shifts when gunfire erupts from within the house. Taken aback by the violence that Jonah exhibits, Lydia is startled by the sound of shattering glass as he opens fire. Outside, the three boys playing in the garden instinctively flee to safety. Inside, Lydia witnesses a horrifying scene. A man lies shot by Jonah, who is aggressively interrogating the man's wife in search of the stolen money. The terrified woman adamantly claims ignorance about the whereabouts of the cash. While two other gang members ransack the house for clues, Lydia, distressed by the unfolding chaos, pleads with Jonah not to harm her. In a chilling moment, Jonah demands that Lydia demonstrate her loyalty by using her gun against the woman. Overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty, Lydia finds herself unable to comply. As Jonah pressures her further, panic sets in, leading to an accidental discharge of her weapon that strikes Jonah. Realizing the gravity of her actions, Lydia instinctively flees the scene in a desperate bid for survival. The narrative then shifts to John Link, Lydia's father, an older man who is attending a support group meeting. On this particular day, he shares a poignant story from his past about his time as a soldier in the U.S. military, followed by his subsequent 7-year prison sentence for accidentally taking someone's life while under the influence. Accompanied by his close friend Kirby, who has been like family to him since their military days, John reflects on his tumultuous journey and reveals that he has been divorced from his wife. Soon after, John receives a distressing call from Lydia, who tearfully confesses that she is leaving home. She urgently explains her need for $2,000 to secure a place to stay and find work. However, the truth is far more alarming. Lydia is seeking the money to escape from Jonah's dangerous associates, but she cannot reveal the full extent of her predicament to protect her father. Consumed with worry for his daughter, John agrees to help her financially, promising to get the money to her as soon as possible, even though he currently lacks the funds. His determination to assist Lydia in her time of crisis is unwavering. Lydia then requests that John meet her at a bar in Santa Monica, California, to pick her up. As soon as the call ends, John rushes to his car, driven by a sense of urgency and fear for Lydia's safety. After a long and anxious journey, he arrives at the designated location the following day. Moments later, Lydia approaches him, visibly anxious and frightened. Exhausted from evading Jonah's associates, she quickly drifts off to sleep during the ride back to John's home. Upon their arrival, John gently carries Lydia to her bed and takes immediate action to protect her. He discards all alcohol and drugs he finds in the bag and carefully secures the gun he discovered in Lydia's bag. A deep sense of dread washes over him as he realizes that his daughter has become entangled in a perilous lifestyle. When Lydia awakens, her first question is about the money she had requested earlier. John's heart sinks as he admits he doesn't have the necessary funds. Anger ignites within Lydia at what she perceives as her father's betrayal. Despite John's attempts to soothe her, he suggests that she stay with him temporarily until she can find employment. However, Lydia hesitates, fearing that her presence might endanger him further. In a moment of vulnerability, she reveals that Jonah is dead but omits the truth of her involvement in his demise. By now, John is acutely aware that Lydia is being sought by the police, evidenced by the flyers plastered everywhere. He proposes that she stay for a week while he gathers the money she needs. Later that afternoon, John turns to Kirby for a loan, but Kirby declines, suspicious that Lydia would squander it on drugs. Instead, Kirby urges John to seek psychiatric or medical help for Lydia, convinced that she is under the influence. As night falls, several men arrive at John's home under the pretense of getting tattoos, adding to the tension and uncertainty of an already fraught situation. Recognizing the imminent danger posed to his daughter, John swiftly took action to secure their surroundings and protect Lydia. A confrontation ensued, during which John valiantly defended both himself and his daughter. The situation escalated when one of the assailants targeted John's camper van, shattering its windows and further intensifying the threat. With John and Lydia cornered, Kirby and his friends arrived just in time, their presence forcing the attackers to retreat in fear of being outnumbered. A wave of urgency washed over John as he realized the gravity of his daughter's peril. He immediately whisked Lydia away from the chaos. That night, they fled the town in search of safety. As they drove, Lydia finally mustered the courage to reveal the harrowing truth about what had transpired with Jonah. She confessed that in a desperate attempt to reclaim stolen money belonging to El Padrino, she had accidentally shot Jonah, leading to his tragic death. Now, both Jonah's dangerous associates and the police were relentlessly pursuing her. Later, they found refuge at a motel, hoping for a brief respite. However, Sleep eluded Lydia, prompting her to step outside for fresh air. There, she struck up a conversation with the young man at the reception desk. Their interaction was abruptly interrupted when news of Lydia being wanted by the police flashed across the television screen. The motel staff quickly alerted local authorities, inadvertently revealing Lydia's whereabouts. Realizing their precarious situation, Lydia urged John to gather their belongings and leave immediately. But as they prepared to escape, several police officers had already surrounded the motel, blocking their exit. In a fortunate turn of events, the young man from the lobby intervened, guiding John and Lydia to a hidden spot within the motel. While concealed in an empty room, John cautiously peered out the window to gauge their predicament. 2 police officers were approaching dangerously close to discovering their hiding place when suddenly, a gunshot rang out from an unexpected direction, incapacitating the officers. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, John and Lydia made a daring escape using a car belonging to another motel guest. However, they were soon pursued by a mysterious figure intent on eliminating them, narrowly escaping a hail of gunfire. The following day, John reached out to an old friend from his prison days, Jack, who had once been a mafia leader with extensive connections. John and Lydia embarked on a journey to a new city, utilizing transportation they discovered along their route. Upon arriving at a bar in Montana, John sought out an old military friend, Tom Harris, who owed him a favor from their past. However, the bartender, mistaking Lydia for John's partner, refused to divulge Tom's whereabouts. Frustrated by the lack of assistance, John stepped aside to call Kirby for help. Meanwhile, Lydia, with her natural charm, engaged the bartender and skillfully extracted Tom's address from him. Armed with this information, John and Lydia hurried to Tom's residence, catching a ride with a stranger. When they reached Tom's place, John confronted him, demanding the money and his cherished Harley motorcycle that Tom had borrowed years ago. To John's dismay, Tom regretfully informed them that the money was gone. That evening, Tom invited some members of his motorcycle club over to meet John, creating a sense of camaraderie amidst the tension. After the gathering, John and Lydia decided to spend the night at Tom's home, hoping for a brief respite. However, the following morning took a dark turn when Tom and his wife threatened them with a gun, revealing their intention to surrender John and Lydia to the authorities for a $30,000 reward. Betrayed and enraged, John swiftly disarmed Tom's wife with a strike and turned the gun on Tom, demanding his money and motorcycle back. Despite his fury, John refrained from killing Tom, honoring their shared history. After retrieving his money and bike from Tom's home, John and Lydia made their hasty exit. As they traveled onward, they were pursued by several men sent by Tom to recapture them. A fierce shootout erupted between John and Tom's henchmen. However, John prevailed using a weapon he had taken from Tom's wife earlier. The next day, in an effort to evade recognition, John shaved off his beard and mustache while Lydia dyed her hair a different color. Later, John visited the prison to meet Jack and gather intelligence about the mafia pursuing Lydia. Through Jack's extensive connections, they uncovered that those chasing Lydia were associates of Jonah and allies of El Padrino. In a shocking twist, they learned that Jonah was the true thief behind the theft of El Padrino's money. The film opens with a carefully orchestrated incident by Jonah, who cunningly framed others to eliminate them and deflect suspicion from himself. In a chaotic turn of events, Lydia accidentally shoots Jonah while he attempts to kill someone, leading El Padrino to mistakenly believe that Lydia is responsible for the theft. Meanwhile, while hiding in a motel, Lydia receives an urgent call from Kirby, who warns her that El Padrino's men have discovered her location. Kirby insists that she must move to a busier area immediately. Acting quickly, Lydia seeks refuge in a movie theater, convinced it will shield her from danger. However, this sanctuary turns out to be a trap set by the seemingly alive Jonah, who is intent on exacting revenge on her. Realizing the peril she is in, Lydia attempts to escape but is captured by Jonah's henchmen. Concurrently, John, having just returned from a meeting with Jack in prison, tries to contact Lydia but receives no response. Growing increasingly concerned, he asks Kirby about her whereabouts, only to discover that Jonah has taken her captive. Furious at the loss of his best friend and the kidnapping of his daughter, John confronts Jonah. In a chilling exchange, Jonah threatens to kill Lydia to cover his tracks with El Padrino. Undeterred, John warns him that he will expose Jonah's treachery if he harms Lydia. Before facing Jonah, John makes a stop at Tom's place to retrieve grenades for the impending confrontation. In a desperate struggle for survival, John is forced to kill Tom, who stands in his way. When John arrives at the designated meeting point, he raises his hands in a gesture of peace to indicate he is unarmed. Jonah permits him to see Lydia, who is held captive in his vehicle. With plans to eliminate both John and Lydia, Jonah's men attempt to remove John's Harley motorcycle, inadvertently blocking their escape route. Seizing the moment, John detonates a grenade he had planted earlier, creating chaos and confusion. In the ensuing battle, John engages in a fierce fight with Jonah and his men inside the car. Emerging victorious, John frees Lydia from her restraints. However, Jonah manages to flee as John and Lydia escape in Jonah's abandoned vehicle. Their relief is short-lived when they come under attack from the hills. A bullet fired by El Padrino's hired gun strikes John, causing him to collapse. In a final act of defiance, John shoots the assailant dead as he approaches to confirm his kill. With no means of escape left, John makes the ultimate sacrifice to protect his beloved daughter. In his final moments, he gazes into Lydia's eyes one last time before succumbing to his injuries in her arms. Shortly thereafter, the police arrive and apprehend Jonah. The film concludes with a poignant scene of Jonah in prison, where he faces Jack and his allies, foreshadowing the challenges that await him behind bars. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a great day.